assessment, as well as the local climate change action plan. So we look at the future. So our approach is more futuristic by 2050 so that they can have a more sustainable resource base for their development in the province in the future. Our contribution is really providing the scientific basis for a well-informed and sound decision-making. So we co-learn with them, we co-develop with them, and hopefully, as they have ownership over their plans, then they can mobilize resources for implementation. INREM has always been open to collaborate with different institutions. We've been collaborating with national and international agencies, from government to non-government to the private sector and so on. They can contact us through our website. So our email address is inrem.upld@up.edu.ph, and we have our website also where you can learn more about what we are doing.
Our planet is our source of life, but today, more than ever, the Earth needs our help. With the growing magnitude of human influence on the environment, our ecosystems are changing fast, for better or for worse. That's why we need an innovative approach to addressing our planet's concerns, a kind that connects people, communities, nature, and all kinds of empirical knowledge. The UPLB Interdisciplinary Study Center for Integrated Natural Resources and Environment Management, or UPLB-INREM, responds to this call. As part of UP's vision of servicing the nation, UPLB-INREM was initially established in July 2013 and officially recognized by the UP Board of Regents in April 2023 to promote the science and practice of integrated natural resources and environment management. Aligned with the collective expertise of UPLB's 11 academic units, the UPLB-INREM harnesses interdisciplinary knowledge to bridge the gaps in environmental research, extension, and public service. INREM promotes a holistic, systems-based, and participatory approach to managing our land, forests, water, and biodiversity. INREM sees nature and society as deeply connected. We believe that solving environmental problems means listening to various perspectives: scientists, civil society, farmers, fisherfolk, policymakers, indigenous people, and vulnerable communities, among others. Through interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research, UPLB-INREM brings together multiple fields and stakeholders to study the environment in its full complexity. This approach ensures that our research is not detached from reality, but grounded in the actual needs, struggles, and hopes of our communities. Through this inclusive approach, UPLB-INREM ensures that knowledge co-creation reflects both scientific evidence as well as experiential and traditional knowledge from the ground, producing solutions that are not only technical, but also empathetic. We strive to turn research into action, supporting local governments, national agencies, and partner institutions to craft and implement effective environmental policies, programs, and practices. As an affiliate hub of the UP Resilience Institute, UPLB-INREM contributes to national climate action, resilience, and environmental sustainability. From field-based learning to national-level advocacy, UPLB-INREM is shaping how we respond to the major environmental challenges of our time, such as climate change, land degradation, biodiversity loss, and food insecurity. Every effort, every voice, and every perspective matters. Together, we build landscapes and seascapes that thrive, both for people and the planet.
UPLB Interdisciplinary Study Center for Integrated Natural Resources and Environment Management. Recently, it was affiliated as a hub of the UP Resilience Institute. It was established in response to the continuing challenge on natural resource and environment degradation that is largely brought about by the traditional sectoral and highly fragmented approach to environment and natural resource management. Our main concern really is to conduct collaborative research and development, so we venture on inter- and transdisciplinary approaches. We have successful collaborative efforts in modeling sustainable local area development, as well as even implementing sustainable land management practices that enhances productivity and sustainability of local landscapes. For instance, UPLB-INREM have essentially built a lot of capacities in terms of the local government units and so on. And then we have also activities on the ground as well that build capacities of not only institutions but even local communities. In addition, we have also been collaborating with the UP Resilience Institute since 2017. And among our notable action research that have rendered public service also, we were involved in an ADB funded component on improved resilience for future disasters that deals with strengthening the capacity of 29 local government units in Yolande stricken areas. Also, resilience capacity building of cities and municipalities to reduce disaster risk from climate change and natural hazard. For the LGUs, I can put more emphasis now in terms of the work that we did in the province of Aurora and currently again in the province of Albay, but also Laguna and also in La Union. So essentially our contribution is providing scientific basis for planning, preparing climate and disaster risk assessment, as well as the local climate change action plan. So we look at the future. So our approach is more futuristic by 2050 so that they can have a more sustainable resource base for their development in the province in the future. Our contribution is really providing the scientific basis for a well-informed and sound decision-making. So we co-learn with them, we co-develop with them, and hopefully, as they have ownership over their plans, then they can mobilize resources for implementation. INREM has always been open to collaborate with different institutions. We've been collaborating with national and international agencies from government to non-government to the private sector and so on. They can contact us through our website. So our email address is inrem.upld@up.edu.ph, and we have our website also where you can learn more about what we are doing.
Good afternoon and welcome to the 8th installment of INREM 360. The webinar will start in a while, so we encourage you to invite your colleagues to join us, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
Sakto na yung gamit.
Our planet is our source of life, but today, more than ever, the Earth needs our help. With the growing magnitude of human influence on the environment, our ecosystems are changing fast, for better or for worse. That's why we need an innovative approach to addressing our planet's concerns. Initially established in July 2013 and officially recognized by the UP Board of Regents.
Good afternoon to everyone on our side of the world, and good evening to our friends and guests from the Netherlands. And of course, a big warm welcome to all of you. We're so excited to have you here in this 8th episode of INREM 360 titled Water and Nature-Based Solutions, Lessons from the Philippines and the Netherlands for a Climate Resilient Future. This webinar is made possible through the partnership and collaboration with the Embassy of the Kingdom of Netherlands, the University of the Philippines Resilience Institute, and the Iloilo City Government. I am Vela Catujo, your host for this afternoon. The INREM 360 webinar series brings together key insights from research, practice, and field experiences of INREM-related initiatives. In the previous INREM 360 episode, we examined and unpacked the role of NbS in climate resilience building in Brazil and the Philippines, particularly analyzing the enabling conditions and challenges for NbS uptake and implementation, including the presentation of some of the successful NbS case studies for climate resilience. Continuing our discussions on NbS, today's session will dive deep into addressing the pressing water management concerns through NbS. Water is one of our most valuable natural resources. It sustains life, supports agriculture and livelihoods, powers industries, and maintains the health of our ecosystems. Yet, despite its abundance, water has also become one of our greatest challenges in the face of climate change. For countries like the Philippines, this topic is especially timely and relevant. As an archipelagic nation located in the path of tropical cyclones, we experience some of the heaviest rainfall in the world. Every year, intense rains, floods, landslides, and stronger typhoons affect millions of Filipinos, disrupting communities, damaging infrastructure, and threatening lives and livelihoods. While at the same time, many areas continue to face water shortages during the dry season, and even in this intense Super El Nino, reflected by the water level in our dams such as Magat and Angat. This reminds us that managing water is not simply about having enough, it is about managing it wisely. These challenges call for solutions that work with nature rather than against it. Nature-based solutions offer sustainable approaches that restore ecosystems while reducing flood risks, improving water security, enhancing biodiversity, and strengthening the resilience of our communities. Today's webinar is particularly meaningful because it brings together experiences from two countries with unique yet complementary perspectives. The Philippines continues to develop innovative approaches to managing water resources under increasingly complex climate conditions, while the Netherlands is internationally recognized for centuries of expertise in living with water and pioneering flood management and climate adaptation strategies. By learning from both experiences, we have a valuable opportunity to exchange knowledge, explore practical and science-based solutions, and strengthen collaboration toward building climate-resilient communities and sustainable water systems. As we begin today's discussion, I encourage everyone to actively participate, listen with curiosity, and reflect on how these lessons can be translated into actions within our own communities, institutions, and sectors. To open this webinar, we have a video recorded message from Mr. Franco Neil Rebarter, Senior Economic Policy Officer of the Embassy of the Kingdom of Netherlands in Manila.
Good day, everyone. On behalf of the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in the Philippines, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to the UPLB-INREM 360 webinar series. Today's session on climate resilience, water management, and nature-based solutions is very timely and relevant. Across the world, and especially here in the Philippines, we continue to experience the growing impacts of climate change. Mas ramdam natin ito ngayon. While many parts of the country are experiencing severe flooding, we also see our dams running dry at the same time. This bitter irony reminds us that water management is becoming more complex and requires long-term integrated solutions. At the same time, declining water quality, biodiversity loss, and land subsidence continue to put pressure on our leaders, planners, and communities to develop solutions that are more sustainable, resilient, and future-ready. The Netherlands has lived with water for centuries, and through that experience, we have learned to adapt and work with it. Today, we are increasingly working with nature instead of against it. We combine NbS with engineering, innovation, and good water governance. We believe that resilient water systems are built through science, innovation, and strong partnerships. At the Embassy, we don't see our role as simply sharing Dutch knowledge and expertise. We seek collaboration. We believe that the Philippines and the Netherlands have so much to learn from one another. Based on our experience, the best solution comes from working together, listening to one another, and adapting ideas to the local context. Through our collaboration with government agencies, academe like UPLB-INREM, the civil society, and the private sector, we hope to co-create practical and locally relevant solutions that will strengthen climate resilience and improve water security for communities across the Philippines. This spirit of partnership is even more meaningful because this year, 2026, marks the 75th year anniversary of the diplomatic relations between the Philippines and the Netherlands. Yes, for 75 years, our two countries have worked closely across many sectors, and today I'm happy to say that water and climate resilience remain among the strongest pillars of our cooperation. We look forward to strengthening these partnerships even further in the years ahead. Finally, I'd like to thank UPLB-INREM, the organizers, our speakers, and all of you for taking the time to join today's webinar. I hope this session inspires meaningful discussion, fresh ideas, and new collaborations that will help us build a more climate resilient and sustainable future together. Muli, maraming salamat po, and I wish everyone a productive, insightful, and inspiring webinar. Thank you, Ella.
Thank you, Mr. Franco, and I couldn't agree more to you. Indeed, water management has become more complex and it now requires long-term solutions. And yes, best solution comes from working together. And this webinar actually signals a long-term collaboration with the embassy. So moving forward, a few reminders as you listen. Please make sure your microphones are muted, and if you have questions, kindly drop them in the Q&A box. And if you are watching via live stream, please use the hashtag INREM360. For a more INREM360 vibe, please use the INREM360 Zoom background in the chat box and kindly rename your accounts as follows: your name _ the institution where you are affiliated with. Okay, so diving deeper, we will now hear the various perspectives from our three esteemed speakers. Please allow me to introduce our first speaker. Mr. Rien Von Zoton is a civil engineer and an environmental manager with more than 46 years of experience as a senior project manager in Rijkswaterstaat within the Dutch Ministry of Infrastructure and Water. Nowadays, he is responsible for two projects in the Netherlands. One is the A Road Safety Project for two main roads in the province of Overijssel, and second, the design and realization of a new energy system to open and close the storm surge barrier in the Eastern Scheldt. Besides that, he is also working in some countries in Africa and Asia for the protection of vulnerable coastal against storms, floods, and impact of sea level rise, including ongoing initiatives in Egypt and Ghana and in the Philippines and Bangladesh. He was the responsible project manager for the design and realization phase of the large-scale port extension of the Port of Rotterdam. He is also very experienced in protecting the country against floods, as he has worked in this field both in policymaking and in the design and realization phase. He was head of the North Sea section for the National Institute of Coastal and Marine Management from 1997 to 2003. He has been working in Bangladesh, Mozambique, South Africa and Eswatini, Egypt, Ghana, Vietnam, and the Philippines, and in many other developing countries for the last 25 years, mainly in the cooperation with national authorities and regional water bodies to strengthen their capacity or to help them with the project implementation. This project aimed to protect the people in the coastal zone against floods, focusing now on the shift towards nature-based solutions. He has also been lecturing at IHE Delft in several courses concerning port infrastructure and courses concerning environment impacts and integrated coastal zone management. He has been teaching at the World Maritime University in Malmö since 2014 to explain the interaction and consequences between the coast and mankind's projects. Everyone, let us welcome Mr. Rein van Zoton.
Well, good afternoon to you. Good morning in the Netherlands. We have a time difference of 6 hours. I will tell you something about nature-based solutions in the Netherlands, but I would like to start with some background from the Dutch side. Can I shift the slides myself?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, please. You can share your screen now. Thank you.
Oh, it won't start. Can you put forward my slides? I want to share, but it doesn't work.
Nice. Sir, would you like us to share on your behalf?
Yes, please.
Okay.
You can go to the second slide, please. Yes, some background to start with. Here we have the Netherlands, and we are a very small country, but we are dominated by, we are dominated by four main rivers, which end up in the North Sea, which create the delta, which is called the Netherlands. You see the catchment area of the four rivers, and they all end up in the delta along the North Sea. The next one, please. Yes, here you see the Netherlands. If we would have no dikes or no dams or no dunes, the whole blue part is 2/3 of the country. This would be flooded on a daily basis by every tide. And therefore, we need to protect ourselves severely, because in this blue part, the majority of our national gross product is earned. More than 2/3 of our national income is earned in this area. And that is why we are so very strict in protecting ourselves and why we want to have very high standards. The next one, please. Like in many countries, triggers are often catastrophes. In our case, it is already more than 70 years ago that we have a catastrophic flood in the southwestern part of the country. The number of people that died is, to our standards, very high, nearly 2,000. I know from many countries around the world where these numbers die on a yearly basis. But for us, this was the trigger to start to protect ourselves. And the first thing that we did is to start with high-tech solutions, like in the next slide. Here you see the time axis downstairs. And then you see that we already in the 1950s, directly after the storm surge, we started to protect ourselves with dams, large dams. The most well-known are the Eastern Scheldt storm surge barrier and the New Waterway storm surge barrier. We did this for about half a century, 50 years, but we also began to recognize that although these constructions protect ourselves very good, they have many negative impacts. And the impacts that are negative are mainly focused on that you block the natural processes like sediment fluxes, wind, waves, currents. All these things are changed dramatically, and they create a lot of changes behind the dam. The difference between salt and fresh water, for example. So that's why we also started already quite a long time ago, early 1990s, so that is 30 years ago, to think about alternatives. By that time, those alternatives were called working with nature. They were not called nature-based solutions, but working with nature. Like the next slide, please. What we did most of all is, if you want to work with nature, that you try to create space for the rivers, space for the coast, space for water, and space for the natural processes, and which is contrary to what we did before, when we just were squeezing all those spaces to use them efficiently for people, for agriculture, for living, etc. But the squeezing of the space is a very negative impact on natural processes. And since the 1990s, we start to unsqueeze, to create room, to create flat slopes. And the next slide, please. Here you see the differences between the hard structures and the soft structures. We started with the hard structures, strange material. We have not that material not available in our country, so it needs to be imported from other countries. We have no room for dynamics. We have to change that. And the most striking example where we did this is the protection of our coast, like the next slide. We started to protect our coast with only sand. We have plenty of sand available in the North Sea, and that sand is the same quality as what we have on the beach. What you see here is the profile of the Netherlands coastline, and you see the numbers of the volumes of sand that we bring on the shore or on the foreshore on a yearly basis. Every year we bring about 12 million cubic meters of sand on the shore, and we decide every year on which location we will do that to keep our coast safe and to continue with the natural processes along the coast, like waves and currents and sediment fluxes. They all are undisrupted. And that means that our coast remains very natural, very stable, and also is quite easy adaptable towards climate change. It's easy to calculate that we need some more sand if climate change brings up the sea level more rapid than we expect until now. So this is already for 30 years what we now would call nature-based solutions, but what we started to do because of the negative impacts of the hard structures. And that is a vital thing in all the thinking about nature-based solutions. As long as you use the local available material and the local processes like the natural dynamics, then you are sure that in the end you will build and cheaper and more effective. So that is one of the examples that we do in the Netherlands. And how effective it is, that will be shown in the next slide. This seems a rather complex picture, but it is easy. If you look on the x-axis, you see the years starting from 1990, where we started to protect our coast like this, until very recent, 2 years ago. And then what you see is the yellow is the volumes of sand that we were bringing on the beach, and the blue is the volumes of sand that we were bringing on the foreshore. And when we bring it on the foreshore, it is cheaper, so we can bring the extra volume for the same amount of money, the same budget. What you see in the red line, that starts with, say, 17% on the left side, and it is decreasing until less than 5%, which is now. So that means that every single meter of the coast is in control. We know exactly what to do and how to do this to be in control. And because the underwater suppletions are cheaper, we can even bring some extra. So this is the proof of the pudding that this way of maintaining your coast is very cheap and very effective. Yes, please, the next one. We have one kind of experiment which is well known in the world. That is what is called the sand engine. Instead of bringing sand on the shore on a yearly basis, we have dumped 20 million cubic meters in one time on one location. And the idea is, let it be redistributed by the waves and the currents, and it will take about what was expected. It will take about 10 years before it will be distributed along the coast. And what you see here on these pictures, this is a picture after a couple of 6 or 7 years. If you look to the pictures today, there is still plenty of sand available. So it is even cheaper than we were thinking. Although it's an experiment, many places around the world have been asking us to do the same for their locations. But of course, your location has to be investigated whether it is suitable or not. You need to have the sand, you need to have the local currents, etc. to do this. But in Egypt and in Ghana, they have been asking to do so, in Vietnam as well. So this is a kind of an idea that can be exported very, very easy. If I go to the next slide, please. I will show you another example. This is in the Lake IJsselmeer, which is our biggest lake that has hardly any tidal difference. And what we did here is that we brought mud, pure mud, up until above the water level and protected it very easily with local available material like brushwoods. And what you see here, after 2 or 3 years, this is already a hotspot for birds. We create here, well, new nature, biodiversity, with hardly any costs and easy to maintain. So this is, there is only hard material near the boats where they have to go to their harbor. That's the only piece where we use hard material. The next one, please. I am already working in the Philippines ever since 2014. Like in the Netherlands, the flood of 1953 was the trigger. In the Philippines, some of the typhoons are triggers to think about the future. And Haiyan in 2014 was one of those triggers. It hit Palau and Tacloban, And then the Dutch were asked to come and to think about possible solutions. And then we have designed protection for those cities, including nature-based approach. And afterwards, we did the same for Bislir and for Surigao, and this still is continuing. And here in the northern part of the Manila Bay, a lot of options have been investigated for nature-based solutions. And nowadays, we are busy to realize such a nature-based solution in Malolos, where we use bamboo, brushwoods, where we use mangrove, where we use oyster shells, coconut mats, all local available. The next one, please. As I said, I'm also working in Egypt, and what you see on the left side is the way that they protect the coast along the Mediterranean by their own thinking, with very heavy concrete structures, very large weight, but it does not work, it does not function. And you can change it to sand nourishment and sand trapping on the beach, and that is what you see on the right side. And it is very, very effective, and it is even cheaper. So the thinking is now to protect the whole delta of the Nile with this method, to use sand from the delta of the Nile to bring it on the shore, and to do this on a regular basis to protect the vulnerable delta where the majority of the people are living. So this is the same way of thinking with the same solution as what we do for the coast of the Netherlands. And then the next one, that is in Ghana. And Ghana has a lot of mangroves like the Philippines has. What you usually see is that people in those areas cut the mangrove for firewood or to live there inside of the mangroves. But then their protection value has gone, of course. So we need to educate the people to see the advantages of keeping that mangrove vital and even widen the belts of the mangroves so that there is more protection, and it is with natural materials, and it is more effective, and it is a very cheap way of protecting yourself. I think this is my presentation. If you go to the next slide. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for sharing science and evidence-based water management through NbS, Ren. During your presentation, I was reminded of the concept of resilience, the building back better. After the 1950s, you did not remain a victim of that catastrophic flood, but you protected yourselves immediately after through high-tech solutions. And from there on, you consistently kept on innovating and even shifted to nature-based solutions to the point that you're now reaping their benefits. And this is an interesting perspective on how we are solving our flooding concerns in the Philippines. And yes, we look forward to how your expertise can enhance the flooding concerns in the whole Manila Bay region. So for our participants, I know everyone is very eager to ask and learn from Rin. Please hold on to your questions or feel free to send them through Zoom chat, YouTube chat, or Facebook Live. We will get back to all of your questions during the open forum. So moving forward, I will now be introducing our second speaker, and while doing that, she can now set up her presentation. For our second speaker, Ms. Janice May Rodrigo C. is a registered environmental planner and a highly dedicated public servant with over 2 decades of specialized experience in development planning, project management, and environmental governance. She is currently serving as the City Government Department Head 2 at the Office of the City Environment and Natural Resources for the Iloilo City Government. In this executive role, she oversees the comprehensive management of the Centro offices and drives the implementation of critical environmental policies and sustainable programs. Ms. C's practical expertise is reinforced by a strong academic foundation in public administration and urban development. She earned a master's in Public Management from the Ateneo de Manila University, Ateneo School of Government, and a diploma in Urban and Regional Planning from the University of the Philippines in Visayas. Additionally, she earned units toward a master's in urban and regional planning at the University of the Philippines, Silopan, and holds a Bachelor of Science in Management from the University of the Philippines in Visayas. Building up to her current executive position, Ms. C has demonstrated a steady and impactful career progression since beginning her tenure with the Iloilo City government in 2001. Within the Office of the City Planning and Development Coordinator, she held several pivotal leadership roles, including Project Development Officer 4, Chief of the Sectoral Coordination and People Participation Division, and Section Chief of the Plans and Programs Division. Her extensive portfolio includes supervising sectoral coordination, engaging in climate resilience and land use planning, monitoring project implementation, and providing critical technical secretariat support. Let us all hear and learn from Ms. Janice Macy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me share my screen. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon po.
Afternoon.
On behalf of the Iloilo City government, under the leadership of our city mayor, Honorable Raisa S. Chenias, I'm Janice C., the current City Environment and Natural Resources Officer of Iloilo City. Today, I will be sharing how Iloilo City has been integrating nature-based solutions into our local water resource management initiatives. So let me begin by introducing Iloilo City and why water resource management is so important to us. Iloilo City is a highly urbanized city located in western Visayas with a land area of approximately 79 square kilometers and a population of about half a million people. The city is composed of 7 administrative districts and 180 barangays. Beyond being known for its cultural heritage, Iloilo has experienced rapid urban growth over the past decades. While this growth has brought economic opportunities, it has also increased the demand for sustainable environmental management, particularly for our rivers, waterways, and coastal resources. Geographically, Iloilo City is a coastal city facing both the Iloilo Strait and the Guimaras Strait. We have 26 coastal barangays, and our communities are closely connected to the sea. One of our most valuable natural assets is the Iloilo Batiano River system, a tidal river ecosystem that has historically supported transportation, commerce, fisheries, and urban development. These rivers are not simply waterways, they are essential to the city's economy, environment, and overall quality of life. Because of this, protecting our water resources has become one of the city's major development priorities. Like many coastal cities, Iloilo faces increasing climate related challenges. We experience more frequent flooding caused by intense rainfall and changing weather patterns. During prolonged dry periods, water availability also becomes a concern. As sea levels continue to rise, saltwater intrusion threatens freshwater resources and coastal ecosystems. At the same time, pollution from urban runoff and wastewater further degrades water quality. In this context, climate change acts as a risk multiplier. making existing environmental challenges even more severe. These realities pushed us to adopt solutions that work with nature rather than against it through nature-based solutions. Nature-based solutions, according to IUCN, refer to actions that protect, sustainably manage, and restore ecosystems while addressing societal challenges effectively and adaptively to provide both human well-being and biodiversity benefits. Instead of relying solely on engineered infrastructure, NbS recognizes that healthy ecosystems themselves provide valuable services. In Iloilo City, our approach focuses on four key principles. First, protecting existing ecosystems. Second, restoring degraded rivers and coastlines. Third, actively involving communities in environmental stewardship. And finally, integrating environmental management into local planning and development. One of the best examples of this approach is the Iloilo River Esplanade. Our strategy is what we call the blue-green-gray development approach. Blue represents our rivers and water systems. Green refers to natural ecosystems such as trees, vegetation, and parks. Gray represents traditional engineered infrastructure. Rather than replacing nature with concrete structures, we integrate all three components to create more sustainable and resilient urban spaces. The transformation of the Iloilo River Esplanade clearly demonstrates this concept. What was once a neglected riverbank has become a vibrant public space that promotes environmental protection, flood resilience, recreation, tourism, and economic activity. This shows that urban development and ecosystem restoration can successfully coexist. Beyond the river, the city has expanded nature-based solutions to other areas. The Iloilo Sunset Boulevard combines coastal protection with accessible public open spaces. We also continue implementing coastal ecosystem restoration, particularly through mangrove rehabilitation. Mangroves serve as natural barriers against storm surges, reduce coastal erosion, improve water quality, and provide habitats for marine biodiversity. Regular coastal and river cleanup activities are likewise conducted in partnership with barangays, schools, private organizations, and volunteers. Together, these initiatives strengthen both environmental protection and community resilience. Aside from these flagship projects, Iloilo City continues to implement complementary programs that support integrated water resource management. These include the construction of sewage treatment plants and interceptors to improve water quality, the establishment of pocket gardens that help reduce urban heat and increase green spaces, and green initiatives such as the iGreens program and Project Transform. The city also conducts regular coastal and river cleanups while installing trash traps to prevent floating waste from reaching our rivers and waters, coastal waters. And together, these initiatives contribute to healthier ecosystems and a cleaner urban environment. One of the greatest strengths of nature-based solutions is that they generate multiple benefits at the same time. Environmentally, they improve water quality, restore habitats, and enhance biodiversity. Socially, they create safer and more attractive public spaces while encouraging greater environmental awareness and community participation. From a climate perspective, they strengthen resilience against flooding, reduce urban heat, and improve the city's capacity to adapt to climate change. In other words, a single investment in nature provides environmental, economic, and social returns simultaneously. What made this work? So, several factors have contributed to Iloilo City's success. First, strong leadership and long-term planning. Second, collaboration among government agencies, academic institutions, civil society organizations, development partners, and the private sector. Finally, environmental considerations have been integrated into local planning and decision making, ensuring that nature-based solutions become part of the city's long-term development strategy rather than isolated projects. Perhaps the most important factor behind these initiatives is the strong community participation. The success of our environmental programs would not have been possible without the active involvement of barangays, schools, universities, non-government organizations, private companies, and thousands of volunteers. Their continued participation transforms environmental protection from a government responsibility into a shared commitment by the entire community. This collective effort ensures that our programs remain sustainable over the long term. As a result of Iloilo City's long-term commitment to environmental sustainability and nature-based solutions, our initiatives have received recognition at the local, national, and international levels. Among these are the ASEAN Clean Tourist City Award, which recognizes cities that promote environmental sustainability and livability, the Galing Pook Award for the Iloilo-Batiano River Development Project, one of the country's highest recognitions for outstanding local governance and innovative public service. And most recently, Iloilo City was recognized internationally as a global model for restoring ecosystems, showcasing how nature-based solutions can successfully restore rivers, coastal ecosystems, and public spaces while improving the quality of life for our people. So these recognitions are not simply awards. They affirm that investing in nature, strengthening partnerships, and engaging our communities can create lasting environmental, social, and economic benefits. And for that, in closing, Iloilo City's experience demonstrates that nature-based solutions are practical and effective approaches to sustainable water resource management. By integrating ecological restoration, resilient infrastructure, sound governance, and strong community participation, we are building a city that is better prepared for the challenges of climate change while protecting our natural resources for future generations. We hope that our experience inspires other local governments to adopt similar approaches and work with nature in creating more resilient and sustainable communities. Madamo gid nga salamat. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Miss Janice, and what a way to end your presentation for nature, for climate, and for the future generation. I think what I find most compelling about the Iloilo experience is the idea that recognizing your vulnerabilities, weaknesses, or risks can actually open the door to transforming them into your strengths and protection. It's actually a familiar cliche, often repeated, yet in reality, it is undeniably difficult to put into practice in the context of climate change and even the governance. So I guess the key to this success is actually not a secret, but more of being consistent. Consistency in the strong leadership, strong community participation, long-term collaboration, and its integration into long-term planning from um, integration rather into local planning from a long-term perspective. Thank you so much, Ms. Janice, for attesting to the reality that we can put into practice and experience the benefits of nature-based solutions. So again, for your questions, please feel free to send them through Zoom chat, YouTube chat, and Facebook Live. We will get back to all of your questions during the open forum. And also, we encourage our speakers to interact with our participants by responding to the questions in our Q&A chat box. Okay. Last, but certainly not the least, we are delighted to welcome Dr. Alfredo Mahar Francisco A. Lagmay. Sir, you may begin setting up your presentation while I share a brief introduction about you. So Dr. Lagmay is an academician of the National Academy of Science and Technology, or NAST, and a professor at the National Institute of Geological Sciences, University of the Philippines. He is currently the director of the University of the Philippines Nationwide Operational Assessment of Hazard, or UPNOAA, and the executive director of the University of the Philippines Resilience Institute, or UPRI. He received his bachelor's and master's degree from the University of the Philippines and holds a doctorate degree in earth sciences from the University of Cambridge. He was a visiting scientist at the Geophysics Department of Stanford University in 2006, and his work focuses on volcano tectonics, disaster forensics, and climate change adaptation. Upon receiving his PhD, he returned to the Philippines and has been involved in numerous research efforts related to natural hazards. He lectures on Philippine disasters by virtue of having hands-on experience in search and rescue and forensic analyses of major Philippine catastrophes. These include the lethal Mindoro, Iloilo, Pampanga floods, Ginsaugon landslide, Mayon Lahars, and the Ondoy, Pedring, Kiel, Sendong, Habagat, Pablo, and Yolanda disasters. He is also a recipient of the Presidential Citation for Search and Rescue in Ginsaugon and the 2008 Outstanding Research Award for Advanced Science and Technology in the Philippines for innovative applications of space technology. He is a recipient of the 2008, 2011, 2015, 2018, and 2021 University Scientist Award, the 2012 New Media Digital Heroes Award, and the 2012 Cyberpress Best IT Product of the Year for the development of the Project NOAA website and mobile tools. He continues to serve the Filipino people by conducting work in areas stricken by disaster. His most recent works include the 2022 landslide tsunami in Apuyog, Leyte, the 2023 Paeng disaster in Dato Odin, Sinsuat, Maguindanao, and the 2024 Lahar deluge in the coastal towns of Taal Lake following severe tropical storm Trami or Christine. He has published more than 100 peer-reviewed journal articles, mostly in the international ISI journals, also a consistently invited keynote speaker in international conferences, and a regular reviewer of scientific manuscripts in world-class journals. He also maintains a reputable status in his field of expertise in the international scientific community. Without further ado, let us welcome Dr. Lagmay.
Thank you very much, Louiela. Louiela Rose. Okay, let me share my screen. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Okay, let me play this. So I guess this is the title. I believe I'm supposed to talk about nature-based solutions. Some topics that we can discuss: how climate change and change influence flood frequency and intensity. I'll probably breeze through that in the talk, as most of the participants here are highly knowledgeable about climate change and its impacts. Project NOAA's role in flood risk information and forecasting, and some resiliency and adaptation beyond clearing operations. That means clearing our waterways. Climate change, in some papers, these are the effects: stronger typhoons due to warmer oceans, increased rainfall and bursting clouds, rapid intensification. Long-term trends, clear trends of increased rainfall events and enhanced monsoon rains. Those are some of the effects that I believe that we're seeing now. We've seen it, the frequency increasing in terms of the big floods happening in Metro Manila, particularly along Marikina River. We had Ondoy, which is believed to be about an event that happens with a probability of 1 every 180 years, 1/180, and it made the Marikina River rise by more than 10 meters. From around 10.5 meters, it became 23. So that signal that you're getting there is because the sensor got cut off or conked out because of the rising water levels. It really reached 23 meters. But the same kind of inundation along floodplains in Marikina happened during the Habagat 2012, and then we had Habagat 2018, Typhoon Ulysses, and then just 2 years ago, Karina, which made the Marikina River swell. And Karina is believed to be of that kind of event, quite a rare event, probability of about 1 every 100. And you can see that the frequency of such events are increasing. That means more hardship for people who are affected along Marikina River. But that's just one example. We have other examples all over the Philippines. From satellite imagery, you can see that there were several big flooding events in Central Luzon, 1972, 2011, 2015, 2020, and I believe it also happened in 2024. I'm still investigating that. That's just based on the water that's coming out of Manila Bay. And you can see already that waterways, in particular, Pampanga River can swell up to as much as 10 kilometers, filling up that entire area called as the Central Luzon Plain. And in terms of flood control infrastructure, even if we have dikes, that's built basically for DPWH. If you have money already, that's 1 every 50-year rain return that transforms into a flood. And that kind of infrastructure may not be able to control the bigger flood events, the more rare flood events, in particular the really big ones that really flood and inundate the floodplains. So it's not just the flood control infrastructure that we want to look at under the Oplan Kontra Baha scheme of government. What we would like to look at are other solutions, because probably we can think of maybe 15 or more other solutions, including nature-based solutions. And it's good that we are getting the attention of government, and we're trying to input our thoughts, what we want to happen in terms of addressing the flood problem of the Philippines, along with experts from UP, Glenn Tabios from the NHRC, who's now Professor Emeritus, and CP David. We're working with the private sector, we're working with DPWH and the government, and also the local government units, like, for example, the Mayor of Quezon City with Secretary Vince Dizon. And our contribution to Oplan Kontra Baha are as follows. Like, we're working on drainage master plans for metropolitan cities like Valenzuela, Navotas, Quezon City, Muntinlupa, San Juan. Caloocan. What else can I think of? I wish that all Metro Manila cities would have their drainage master plans done by us, because we offer a particular type of service that probably is quite unique and relatively cheap. Modeling effectivity of cisterns. We're creating the MMDA app. We're mapping hidden waterways with hot OSM. We're looking at the Laguna Lake coastal flooding with DNR and DPWH, and also flood management using AI. As I said, we've been working with local government units in Metro Manila. Not just Metro Manila, but other LGUs as well. We did the Quezon City Drainage Master Plan, and they've been implementing that. Instead of just thinking of dikes and pumping stations, we've offered simulations to pinpoint areas where they can store the waters or the flood waters temporarily through detention basins, and identify also places where they can create retention basins and so many other types of interventions other than the traditional flood control interventions that we have been implementing before. So this kind of intervention, like for example, this basketball court has a detention basin underneath. It would look like this, or it looks like this. Similar probably to the ones that they have in Japan, only much smaller, but we have a lot of basketball courts. We propose for Quezon City more than 150, maybe if I'm not mistaken, about 183. If we can do that all over Metro Manila, although it's small, we can significantly reduce the floods on the streets and on the surface of the urban jungle. It's something similar also to the one that we have in Fort Bonifacio. We're doing the simulations for this one that they plan to create underneath the baseball field in Rizal. That's quite a big field because Taft Avenue floods. So this is the kind of simulations that we offer to DPWH. Before they invest, they look first at the simulations without the storage facilities, with the storage facilities, and then we can subtract the two simulations and see how much reduction in the floodwaters could happen. All of those points that you're seeing are I believe they are just a minute, the detention basins that are put in place in strategic areas, not just anywhere. And they are determined from the simulations that we can do now at, I believe, at 1 meter resolution. So this is another example for different return periods, year rain return periods that transform into floods. Our simulations are combination of surface as well as drainage flow. And when we combine it, we arrive at certain maps, certain information that is useful for DPWH before they invest in very expensive flood control infrastructure. So in Camp Aguinaldo, we did the same. We looked at all of the drainage canals and we tried to simulate it, looking at how water flows underneath in the drainage model. And we can see the effects. You see the before, the initial simulation to the top left, and the top right, the storage basin with sponge roads included. And you can see the reduction in the flood levels in the urban areas. The green shows areas that have a reduction in floodwaters in terms of depth. And of course, we are creating apps for MMDA. We have a memorandum of understanding with them. We are also mapping hidden waterways in Metro Manila. For example, this one, we are able to identify the creeks, and by having maps like this, there are a lot of other creeks that can be mapped out, but now they have been transformed into subdivisions. So here we have that creek over there, the top left, that blue line, And you can see with the help of our simulations, we can trace all of the hidden waterways. And we're currently doing that. Along Commonwealth, there's a creek there that has been mapped out, but there are so many other creeks that can be mapped out, including this one along EDSA, along SM. The blue line refers to a creek, and when we map it out, so there are stories. No? We try to investigate the area, the subdivision, and indeed the canals, the drainage pipes are not there. We have built on top of these creeks, which are normally dry during summer. There are a lot of other examples that we can show. Just visit the NOAA website, noaa.up.edu.ph, and we're mapping the waterways. We're also looking at the Laguna de Bay shoreline, the Parañaque Spillway. DNR and DPWH have asked us to model the effectivity of such an investment, what would happen, including, for example, the building of building of a skyway on top of the Pasig River, what its effect would be along the channelway, and whether the discharge would be delayed, how much capacity would be reduced, and so on. For example, this in Habagat 2012, Laguna de Bay rose up to almost 14 meters from 12 meters. That's around almost 2 meters. And the consequence would be to flood that area, the coastal areas. And if you would constrict it further, the Pasig River, which is the only channel that drains Laguna de Bay to Manila Bay, then what the effects would be. We can model that before they are constructed. Of course, with the simulations, we can not just identify hard infrastructure, we can also identify other solutions. I'm sure this group INREM knows all about this: large volume detention basins, retention basins, rainwater harvesting, household rainwater harvesting, sponge roads, grass pavers, bioswales, rain gardens, green roofs, flow-through mini dams, flow-through canals. This number 10, we're suggesting a lot of mini dams in the upstream to contain the water temporarily. And of course, urban tree planting. Solid waste management is also one of the solutions. Environmental dredging, science-based and risk-informed land use planning, and of course, some other solutions: floodplain restoration, wetland restoration, riparian buffers, forest restoration, bamboo groves, gabions, and so on. Of course, mangrove forest. I just planted some propagules in Real, Quezon. I was impressed with the mangrove area that they have there with DNR, salt marshes, dune restoration. And we also want to create this flood intelligence system that focuses on nature-based solutions. For example, we want to identify first the return periods, the flood hazard, look at the top first, and then look at the areas for the drainage master plan, whether they have risk maps, whether they are urban, rural, try to get the capacity of that municipality or city, identify impervious surfaces, and then try to introduce the green parts, the nature-based solutions, along with some other more gray infrastructure like drainage upgrade, etc., which are the violet parts. And then we can suggest probably detention ponds or underground channels, a hybrid system of less or more economic solutions, more green solutions, rather than just concrete solutions. And then once we identify the residual risk, those are the areas that we focus on for response. We are trying to build this flood intelligence system. That middle part that you're seeing is just what I discussed. It's a nature-based solutions first approach. That's the strategy recommendation based on everything, the rainfall, antecedent rainfall, the mapping, the plans of the community, and depends on the catchment area, some other potentials of intervention, including nature-based potential, the land availability, wetland restoration, and we try to compute it for the benefit and cost analysis. The losses, the induced economic benefits, and social and environmental benefits. Of course, this is just conceptual first, but hopefully in the next few years, we'll be able to develop it along with economists and those who are involved in this kind of work to be able to come up with a system that the government can refer to so that their investments can be maximized so that the benefit is more than what can be expected compared to not having this at all. So these are other panels of that flood intelligence system. Again, this is a system that may use AI. We have a group here in UP Engineering that works on AI, and we want to develop this system and be able to contribute it to the flood control efforts of government. We've been also working with Rotary. We've developed this GINA app, Grow and Identify Native Trees in Your Area. So we want to map out all of our native trees and all of our resources, mangroves included. We have been working with forest non-governmental organizations or organizations that love our forests and planting trees, in particular native trees. In that app, which is just called gina.up.edu.ph, you can see a lot of information about native trees, and you can use it. We've gamified it so that there will be more people who will be interested in planting native trees. Hopefully, the prize will be a car or a house and lot so that more people will get involved. If we can map out all of the buildings for the Philippines, why can't we map out all of the trees? So that's the goal. It's a dream, but hopefully we'll be able to do it. So we can map it out with AI and also the use of drone lidar. We're farming out a lot of drone lidar so that people can fly the drones. We'll teach them how to what do you call this? Process the LiDAR images so that they can look like this, and maybe we can use AI to identify the trees automatically with good data sets after good training of the data sets. Hopefully, we can do this with the state universities and colleges and higher education institutions, and with continued funding. I have high hopes that we can do this for the entire Philippines for carbon credits, for mapping our resources, having an inventory of all the trees that we have here in the country. So that flood management intelligence platform was already discussed, and I guess I'm at the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lagmay. And as the UPRI Hub, Resilience Hub, working with UPRI has been truly transformational. We have witnessed firsthand how nature-based solutions can move from concept to reality, integrated into our daily lives, and hopefully in the near future, delivering tangible benefits, especially to our most vulnerable sectors. And although we are still in its early phase, I can confidently say that we are making progress as well in this area, driven by our own innovativeness and ingenuity. Thank you so much, Dr. Lagmay, and to your leadership
Thank
to the
you.
whole UPRI. So thank you once again to all of our speakers. This afternoon has truly been filled with insightful presentations and meaningful perspectives. And now it's time for our open forum. We'd love to hear your insights, comments, and of course, your burning questions. We are actually now teaming with a lot of questions. So to start, just some few reminders for our Zoom participants. You may send your questions once again through the Q&A box or the chat box. For those joining us via live stream, please type your questions in the comment section. And a few reminders again before we begin. When asking your question, please state your name and organization, and let's keep the discussion respectful, focused, and concise. Okay, to start with our first question. So this question is from Abdullah Ditwal, to Mr. Wilson as well, and also other participants. So the first question is about, can you expand more about the blue, green, gray approach integrated in all your works? And what do you think are the challenges in implementing this approach and other NBS projects? So can you also elaborate on the pros and cons of this approach, and how were you able to manage these challenges? Again, I will repeat the question. Can you expound more about the blue, green, gray approach integrated in all your works? And the follow-up question is, what are the challenges in implementing this approach and other NBS projects that you have handled? And can you elaborate more on the pros and cons of this approach, and how did you manage these challenges? So I think we can start with Mr. Rin.
Yes, thank you very much. This is a big question with a lot of aspects. A very important aspect is about the governance, the willingness of the politicians to change from hard structure approach to nature-based solution approach. And what is also important in many countries and also in the Philippines, there should be standards of acceptance of levels that should be protecting the people. And then whether it is a hard construction or whether it is a nature-based solution, if you meet the standard, the level of safety, that would be a big advantage if that would be clear. But in the majority of the countries, this is not clear. You talk about levels of reoccurrence, once in 10 years or 20 years or 50 years or whatever. But if you don't know which level of which frequency you should take into account for your calculations, you still are, well, working in the dark somehow. So my thing is, make it clear what is the acceptance of storms or levels that you would like to tackle. That's number one. Number two, if you talk about hard structures, often this is seen as very effective because you can see it as a very strong thing. But in all cases, whether it is a hard structure or whether it is a nature-based solution, maintenance is, the majority of the cases, maintenance is forgotten. And what you see then is that we talk about building it, neglecting it, and after a while we need to rebuild it. And my plea would be to be continuous aware of the construction and the maintenance that it needs. And that holds both for nature-based solutions and for hard constructions. For hard constructions, maybe the frequency of maintenance is lower, but the maintenance should be there. And in the majority of the countries, there is no funding available for maintenance. And that's why the people want to change to hard structures, because they think that is more safe. No, that's not more safe. That's only more safe for a certain period. But after that, the problem is as large as it was before. So it has to be a concept that you would like to promote. And if you really want to shift to the concept of nature-based solutions, it should be part and parcel of all the things that you do. Your investigations, your research, your designs, your realization, and your operation and your maintenance.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rin. How about we hear the perspective from Miss Janice?
Actually, I would like to address the challenges that the city encountered having this approaches. Number one, I think the public buy-in and the initial resistance from the community. So, and then next was the maintenance and the sustainability of this um, project or the program. And the third one is the institutionalization. Basically, we need to have this policy institutionalization, and we have this integrated to our um, comprehensive land use plans, and as well as the local environmental legislations, um, so that we we will have this program institutionalized. So I think these three challenges in this approach, we have the initial resistance from the community, and then the maintenance and the sustainability, and then the institutionalization.
I agree to your concerns, Ma'am Janice. May we hear from Dr. Lagmay?
Yeah, about the hybrid approach. The problem here in the Philippines is that our immediate solution, or the first solution that we can think of when we talk about flood control, are the dikes. No, it's always concrete. When in fact that should be the last part. We must first exhaust all other possible interventions from the upstream parts, from the upper parts of the watershed. Try to reduce it through nature-based solutions. Try to plan the development away from floods. Try to introduce all of those other interventions that are less costly, not by the hundreds of billions per year that we spend. And when we have introduced all of those 15 or 20 other interventions, we come up with what we call as residual risk. And that would have lessened already the flood waters when it comes to the low-lying areas. And that is the time when we should think about the gray infrastructure. In that sense, it would be less costly because the floods will be less. It will be more effective because we don't have to deal with the full impact of a, let's say, 100 year rain return flood, because we have reduced the flood waters, because we have made the interventions from upstream before it reaches the low-lying communities where the majority of the population resides. I believe that we should have this change in mindset, that it's not the dikes, the concrete, that should be the first in mind. And yearly we put a budget, a very, very huge sum, to all of these dike solutions, interventions. We must be smarter than that, because there are other solutions. We use them first, and then when there's residual risk, that's the time then that we think about all of these gray infrastructure.
Thank you. Very well said, Dr. Lagmay. Exhausting more on the NbS solutions that we can have. Then, if we run out of it, that's the time when we go to the gray infrastructures or the hybrid concept. Thank you, Sir Lagmay. So another follow-up question for Ma'am Janice. You mentioned earlier about the buy-in of the community, and one of the questions specifically sent by Mr. Stuart Borbor. So he is wondering, does the governance incentives to the LGUs and other stakeholders contribute to the success in Iloilo? Again, I can repeat the question. Does governance incentives to the LGUs and other stakeholders contribute to the successes in Iloilo? You can answer, ma'am.
Yes, definitely. It really contributes to the success of this project because in governance incentives play a massive role in sustaining this success in Iloilo City. When we talk about governance incentives, we look at them in three ways. We have the national recognition and the institutional awards that we received, and the stakeholder recognition and support. And also, the other one is the incentives for the barangays, for the grassroots, for the community. So, yes, these incentives, both institutional and community-based, help aligns this goal towards long-term sustainability.
Okay, thank you so much, Ma'am Janice. So for our last questions, this is again for Dr. Lagmay. Um, this is a question from Dr. Ruben Amparado Jr. So he said that with massive investments in flood control projects all over the country, he is still wondering why flooding is still rampant in various places in the Philippines. He specifically asks if detention basins are more effective than flood control structures along the river systems, or is it a combination of both? So based on your experience with the actual LGUs that you have mentioned earlier, maybe you can enlighten us with your actual experiences, Dr. Lagmay. Thank you.
Yeah, when we simulate floods in a watershed, we notice that um, there's just so much water. The volume of water is just so much that what we don't want to happen is to have all of that water be in the river all at the same time. Okay. So because rain is spread all over the watershed, what we want to happen is to spread the interventions all over the watershed so that we can prevent all of that water from accumulating at the same time in the low-lying areas. We can do rainwater harvesting, we can put retention basins, we can put detention basins, temporarily hold the water all over the watershed so that they don't accumulate all at the same time. They don't peak all at the same time in the low-lying areas. That's what we want to achieve. With regards to the question about which is more effective, it will, of course, depend on the area. But I believe that if you add all of the possible interventions, including having more absorptive areas, land areas, instead of just pure concrete, you put holes and there will be grass so that water can seep to the ground. Have sponge roads, plant trees in the urban areas. You can temporarily hold water. The idea being is that you want to capture them, and temporarily hold them so that all the waters will not be accumulating all at the same time, peaking at the same time in the low-lying areas. That's the idea, and I guess it's not just one intervention that we should look at. It's the accumulated uh, uh, success of each and every intervention that we put together as a solution to the flood problem. But again, the volume of water is just so much, no? So much that we cannot eradicate the floods. We can reduce it, We cannot eradicate it. We can reduce it, and we can reduce it by doing such kind of interventions, including planting trees, including nature-based solutions. Yeah, I guess that's my answer to the question.
Thank you, Dr. Legmay, and thank you to all of our speakers. I think the one statement that could summarize the whole response to our questions is about creating solutions, and that is the nature-based solutions that work with nature rather than against it. And it is the beauty of NBS being more familiar with what we already have from the nature and enhancing it through the solutions that we can tap from it, or we can have it by the hybrid, just like what we have mentioned earlier, the green gray infrastructure solutions. So again, thank you to everyone who submitted their questions. For those we didn't get to answer today, don't worry, we'll compile them and send our responses via email. So you can also connect with us through the INREM Facebook or LinkedIn page, or simply drop us an email. So before anything else, we would like to invite our speakers and Zoom participants to kindly turn on their cameras for a quick photo opportunity, which will be guided by Miss Beth.
Okay po, everyone, kindly open your cameras. We have 6 panels, window panels. So please hold on to your beautiful smiles. Okay, ready? For the first panel, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, moving on to the next panel. Okay, everyone, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Moving on to the third panel. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Moving on to the fourth panel. 1, 2, 3. Okay. To the fifth panel. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And then to the next
Sorry.
panel. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, speakers, and of course, to our highly engaged participants. At this moment, we'd like to take this opportunity to express our heartfelt thanks to our distinguished speakers. On behalf of the UPLB-INREM, we are honored to present this certificate of appreciation to Mr. Rin Von Zoton, Ms. Janice Macy, and Dr. Alfredo Mahar Francisco Lagmay for sharing their invaluable knowledge and expertise during the 8th episode of the INREM 360 webinar, titled Water and Nature-Based Solutions, Lessons from the Philippines and the Netherlands for a Climate Resilient Future, organized by the UPLB-INREM in partnership with the Embassy of the Kingdom of Netherlands, University of the Philippines Resilience Institute, and Iloilo City Government, given on the 27th of July 2026. Signed by Dr. Marisol T. Villamayor, Director of the UPLB-INREM. So may we request Mr. Rin, Ms. Janice, and Dr. Lagmay to please open their cameras for a photo opportunity with our director, Dr. Marisol Villamayor, which will be guided again by Ms. Beth. Thank you.
Hello.
Kindly wait for a while. I'll be spotlighting everyone, our speakers. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you very much po.
Once
Thank
again, thank you
you.
so much,
Thank you
Dr.
very much.
Lagmay, Mr.
Thank
Rin,
you.
and Ma'am Janice for being such an important part of today's success. So before we end, let's hear the closing remarks from the director of the UPLB-INREM, Dr. Marisol T. Villamayor.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I know that today, July 27, coincides with President Marcos's State of the Nation address. So I truly appreciate that you consider this occasion an equally important event and choose to spend your afternoon with us. As mentioned by our representative from the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Manila, who delivered the opening remarks earlier, Mr. Franco Rebarter, The Sustainable Water Infrastructure Network was launched a couple of months ago, focusing on ESG principles. This commemorated also the 75 years of diplomatic relations between the Philippines and the Netherlands. So this INREM 360 webinar is some sort of way we continue that momentum, strengthening our partnership and deepening our commitment to sustainable water management. So as we end this episode of INREM 360, we heard from the Netherlands about their journey from fighting against nature to working with it. For nearly 40 years now, they have been using sand instead of concrete to protect their coast. And they showed us that even a country that has always used hard engineering solutions can shift to softer, more nature-based approaches. We also heard from Iloilo City. They showed us how a coastal city of 500,000 people is protecting its rivers and coastlines while involving communities in the process. So their Sunset Boulevard project and their blue-green-gray approach prove that nature-based solutions work in the Philippine context too. And from the academe, we were reminded that science and data must guide our decisions and protect nature. So we need evidence to translate local problems into real actions that make a difference. So there are two things that actually stand out today for me. First, the cooperation with nature. Cooperating with nature works best rather than controlling nature. Whether in the Netherlands or the Philippines, the most successful projects are those that respect natural systems, or as DRS Zetan mentioned, to work with nature. Second, we need to combine blue, green, gray solutions or the hybrid approach, with priorities on addressing the whole landscape from ridge to reef, protecting ecosystems, restoring rivers, and building infrastructures must go hand in hand, while the latter, that is the gray infrastructure, addressing the residual risks. In connection to this, while we prioritize nature-based solutions, we recognize that urban areas may not have enough space for ecological processes required by NbS. This was actually the highlight of the previous episode of INREM. And there's just also so much water to deal with. So hence, we need to explore, as Dr. Mahar Lagmay said, other solutions across watershed. Hence, sometimes we also need to augment NbS with gray infrastructure, just like what they are doing in Quezon City. So I saw the post by Mayor Joy, like a detention basin or similar to the hybrid intervention of the Iloilo City. So to our speakers, DRS Rin Van Zeton, environmental planner, Ma'am Janice May, RC, and of course, Dr. Alfredo Mahar Lagmay. Thank you for sharing your time and knowledge with us. We would also like to thank our continued partnership, of course, with the Embassy of the Netherlands, the UP Resilience Institute, and the city government of Iloilo. To all our participants, thank you for your attention and for the thoughtful questions during our open forum. And of course, to our very able UPLB-INREM staff, thank you very much for continuing to organize relevant and timely webinar on INREM, the INREM 360. So this series would not be possible without your dedication and hard work behind the scenes. The challenge we face are real. Rainfall is becoming more intense, and as I speak right now, it's raining here in Los Baños. So flood risks are increasing, but today we have seen that there are solutions. So solutions exist. They are happening now in places like Iloilo and of course the Netherlands. So let us continue working together. Let us continue learning from each other, and let us continue building a climate resilient future. Again, thank you very much and good afternoon.
Thank you, Dr. Villamayor, for your meaningful message, cooperating and controlling nature as reflected by blue, green, gray solutions. So we are now in the last slide of our webinar, and we have some announcements for you. We will be having our 9th episode of INREM 360 titled One ASEAN ecosystem, harnessing nature-based solutions for resilience, food security, biodiversity, and transboundary integration on the 24th of August, 2026. And please be reminded, it will be at 2 o'clock p.m. and not 3 o'clock, okay? So make sure to register through the QR code displayed and join us again for an engaging platform for learning. We would love to collaborate and partner with you to advance research, development, and extension. You may scan the QR code displayed for more information. So lastly, as part of our ongoing commitment to improve, we truly value your feedback on today's webinar, especially on what resonated with you and on how we can make our future episodes better. So you may access the evaluation form, I know you're all asking for it, by scanning the QR code on your screen. So for more details, please visit inrem.cfnr.uplb.edu.ph or follow us on our Facebook and YouTube accounts. So from the fields of the Philippines to your screens around the world, thank you once again for being part of this webinar. Until the next episode, let us keep co-creating knowledge, crossing disciplines, and building futures that thrive with nature. Again, this is Wela Catujo, and this has been the INREM 360.
Thank you very much again, Dr. Zitan and Ma'am C, and of course, Dr. Mahal. See you again in our next episode.
Thank you po.
Thank you po.